Hey everybody, this is Adam Jewell with the Atlantis Sea Colony project. I am the social media manager and the PR specialist, and with me is the founder and owner, or whatever you want to call him, of the Atlantis Sea Colony, Brendon Traxler. Brendon, how are you doing today?
We are doing great.
So today we're going to be doing the AMA that we've been talking about on the Facebook page. We've got, I'd say, a pretty good list of questions to start off with, and hopefully, if everything goes good with this, I'm sure you'll agree with me that we'd like to do these again in the future and keep taking in questions from the people on the page and wherever we may get the questions from.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
And I think we both need to apologize. We were running into some technical difficulties before this. You've been under the weather. I've been trying to get my computer up and running, so we do apologize that the first one might seem a little hastily put together. But like I said, going forward, everything with Atlantis Sea Colony is going to be done very well. So, Brendon, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions, and you're ready for that?
Right on. Let's do this.
All right, Brendon. So, the first question that we got is, what is the overall goal of the Atlantis Sea Colony?
I think it's the way I worded it. Well, the way it's on the website and the elevator speech, as you may say, is to be a catalyst for underwater colonization by providing underwater habitats, hotels, and housings. The bottom line is we want to advance the goal of colonization and in turn, underwater exploration. We want it to be open to everybody. We want the ocean to be, whether it's your grandmother, whether it's your 5-year-old kid, whether you have a handicap, whoever, we want to be able to open the ocean up to everybody. They can come, they can explore it, and they can be inside of it without having to know how to scuba or be able to scuba dive.
Awesome. And so, obviously, this is a big project, and a lot of people, when we first talk about this with people, they, it just kind of boggles their mind a little bit. And one of the big questions is, so what are the steps of obtaining this goal that we have?
Yeah. I guess, if you take it from like 30,000 foot view and look at the big overview, it's, funding, location, and growth is what it boils down to. Then when you dive down into it a little bit deeper, and you want to get more detailed level of the thing, what we're at right now is we're raising brand awareness through social media and other events. We're looking at possibly next year starting to do some trade events and stuff along those lines, actually getting out there, talking to people a little more face to face. So right now we're in this phase of raising brand awareness. After that, it starts to become the first round of fundraising, whether that's through crowdfunding or investments or whatever, and to finalize all the testing and the designs that need to be completed before we move into the next area, which is finding location. And somewhere through all this, we're obviously going to have to start bringing on more people, because even as it is for you and me right now, as we're continuing to grow, it's becoming a daunting task for us to do everything we want to do and still do it with an attitude of excellence that needs to be happening. So we'll have to bring on some more people eventually. After we find a location, then we can go back and we can raise the funding, actually the first habitat built and put in the ocean somewhere. After that, it's a rinse and repeat type of cycle where we just continue to grow the brand, because we'll actually have something there, putting more habitats. And if you've been to the website, I have multiple phases, and I'll dive into that a little bit more, maybe not in this AMA, but definitely on social media in the future, we'll talk about the multiple phases that Atlantis Sea Colony wants to do. And phase one is the proof of concept and the first habitat. And that's kind of what we're talking about right here.
So, with we're seeing a lot, and people know that we like to kind of poke friendly jabs at the space exploration community, and we obviously have nothing like against space exploration, but one thing that we see is that there is multiple companies now outside of NASA that are trying to get into this field. Like, we have SpaceX is kind of like the number one guy right now, but you'll have to help me with this. I know there's a couple other companies. I think, is it Virgin that's trying to get into it as well, and like,
then
so
Bezos,
yeah, there
Amazon,
you go.
yeah.
So obviously the space exploration front is starting to be a competitive field. So one of the questions we have is that is ocean exploration, is ocean colonization a competitive field as well?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, I think we're right on that cusp of where it can be. Right now, there's not much out there except for Jules Undersea Lodge in Florida and the Morocco in the Maldives that are open to the general public. That being said, there's several players out there that have designs that are marketing. Some of them may not be as active as others, but right off the top of my head, I can think before that could potentially be players here in the near future. So it's right now, it's almost like a race to see who can get a first, real ocean habitat that's opened up to the public out there. I said the Morocco and the Maldives, but it's classified as the first underwater hotel, but in reality, all it is a room. You go down some stairs into a room underneath of a suite. So it's a gray area there as far as if that classifies or not, but we're going to add it into the list for right now, since the only other one is the Jewell Undersea Lodge in a lagoon there in Florida. So yeah, to answer your question, not yet, but I think very, very near future it will be.
And one of the things that you and I talk about a lot is that, I mean, one of the daunting tasks working on this project is that it is such a niche, a special interest field that that's one of the things that you and I have been, really working on, is trying to raise the awareness. Like you said, that's one of our big projects right now, and just getting a following behind it, because it's not everybody and their mom is going to want to, that's not the first destination they think of. Just like you're not going to get me on a spaceship to go check out space. It's just not my thing. So that's one of the challenges that we face, and I think you'll agree, is that it's such a niche field. So everything that we're working to do adds a little bit of an extra challenge, because we have to find the right people, the right following, the right everything in order to increase the success with that. And that goes for the other companies that you're talking about as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next question is, and we get this one a lot too, is how deep will these habitats and structures be?
Right. The standard right now seems to be, for the ones that have existed and currently exist. You look at the science platform Aquarius, which is off the coast of Florida. It's around 60 feet. Jules Undersea Lodge is a little shallower than that, but it's also protected because it's in a lagoon. But we're shooting for the 60-foot mark. That's what we designed it to be, is around the 60 foot for the start off. Eventually, as technology continues to advance, the business grows in its maturity as well, we'll go deeper and bigger. See, the first one will be 60 foot.
And you talked a little bit earlier about access to the habitats. So how will people be able to get to these habitats?
Going back to the ones that exist right now, the only way, except for the Morocco, to get to these have been through scuba. You have scuba dive down to them to get into it. That's just been the go-to way of doing it. And the first one will still hold true to those designs. But we've already been looking at a mini sub docking collar of sorts, or other avenues to get people down there. The not saying that the mini sub docking column would not come sooner than later, because that makes a lot of sense. But you can definitely see for the first one, you'll have to scuba dive down to it. It's more of a proof of concept anyway. The first one will be, but still it's going to be open to the public. But after that, we definitely want to start looking at ways to get people down there that don't know how to scuba dive and can get them down there safely, quickly, and securely.
And it's interesting that you touched on the subdock, because the field that we're in is about creating the underwater habitats, the underwater structures. But there's also, and we've been like trying to kind of reach out and talk with and just kind of learn about. There's a lot of companies that are in the business of building the underwater vehicles, the personal subs, there's a lot of people making some really cool designs and doing a lot of different things. So, because a lot of people will say that too, their immediate thought is that everything has to be done by scuba, because I don't think a lot of people realize that there has been a lot of progress made in, I guess, underwater vehicle or underwater transportation, whatever it is. And there's a lot of cool concepts, and we've shared a lot of those on our page.
And I think even to that point, I think a lot of people who are going to be watching this are involved in, I mean, there's multiple people that I follow on Facebook that have built their own submarines. I mean, it's becoming I wouldn't say a everyday occurrence, but it's becoming so accessible. The technology that's out there and the information that's out there with YouTube and Google and stuff along those lines, a lot of people are testing around those waters. And so, yeah, a submarine makes a lot of sense for multiple aspects. One, for the view. You can have a nice little scenic view down there or whatever, but you can come and go as you want to, type of thing. So I definitely see that as being a viable solution in the near future of Atlantis Sea Colony as well.
Next question is, who are your influences for this project?
I mean, Jacques Cousteau is going to be the go-to. I mean, he did the con shelf projects back in the 60s that were, I think are some beautiful designs, and he was really pushing the envelope. And it's like the space race. I equate to that, where back in the 60s we were going to the moon and we were having con shelf programs, and then over the last 50, 60 years, what have we really done out there? And same thing with space. Now we're starting to see this resurgence in the underwater world too. So it's an exciting time. But to get back to the question, definitely Jacques Cousteau. When it comes to the sci-fi, there's a lot of stuff cool that's out there. But for the design and stuff like that, it boiled down to the Aquarius undersea laboratory in Florida, just because it works. So a lot of the design styles and stuff along those lines, I took from that and used it as a, I wouldn't say copied it, because the designs are not the same by aim, but the basic design structure is copied similar. Sorry to beat around the bush there a little bit.
And this is probably when we've reached out to other communities to kind of talk about it. This is probably one of the most highly asked questions: is how will this project impact the aquatic ecosystems?
Yeah, that's a big one, because everybody has, and rightfully so, it is a concern. And long term, I don't think that it will. At the worst, minimally. At first, there's going to be disruption. I mean, we're putting a giant piece of man-made structure on the ocean floor. It's going to disrupt the environment around it. But with putting something there, that gives us an opportunity not only. So I have the theory that it's, out of sight, out of mind when it comes to ocean conservation too. I mean, it's easy for us to say, hey, we need to protect the ocean, but we're not living there. We're not there unless that's your career, but most of us aren't. So if we can start getting people underwater to see the ocean and see what effects we're having to it, good or bad, I think that's a good thing. So that's really a focus here is, sure, I want to colonize the ocean, but also we want to save the ocean too. So, I've been monitoring a lot of stuff here recently as far as coral growth and stuff along those lines that we implement in and bring back the environment to maybe even a better state than it was before we even arrived, as the goal. So there's a lot that we can do after the fact, but there is no getting around the fact that there will be a mild disruption at the beginning too. But our goal obviously is conservation and restoration of that environment.
And if you don't mind me adding on to that, I think one thing that we got to point out is that when we get to the stage where we get to actually drop these habitats in the water, we're not going to go looking for, like a giant coral reef and be like, all right, we need to move that because we're going to drop it right on top there. Like you see, like with what we're seeing in the Amazon right now, like giant deforestation because they're trying to build more farmland. And that's the opposite. Sorry if I'm speaking on your behalf because this has been your baby, but like I don't foresee that your goal is to displace anything for the sake of this project. And one thing that I've always advertised since we've been a part of is a lot with what you're saying is, yeah, there probably will be a mild displacement in the beginning, where we set these structures. But one thing I've noticed, I'm not an expert, but like when you see a lot of aquatic life has grown around a lot of stuff that we've put in the water, whether it's been sunken ships, and there's been a lot of experiments of regrowing corals, meaning it's been slowly being destroyed too. So, yeah, to add to what you're saying, it's going to be something that we do, but we will do in a very responsible manner.
Right, because once again, who's going to want to? That's the whole purpose. Is you want to wake up in the morning. I want when people wake up, I want them to look out the window and have this beautiful view there. So it is important for us to have a thriving ecosystem around the habitat. So it is in our best interest to make sure that we take as good of care as possible of the surrounding areas.
So to add on to that, the next question is, what benefits can underwater colonization offer?
I think a lot of it's too early to tell. I think the two big ones in my part are going to be the conservation aspect. It's going to be a big one going back to the out of sight, out of mind type of mentality, but also real estate too. We got 75% of the earth underwater that's being untapped as far as potential real estate. They have to work hand in hand though. And so that's why I put them as 1 and 2. So, whatever we decide to do with it, recreational, personal, business, all those come into play, the proverbial mining, farming, etc. I've always looked at the possibilities, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later as well, if I remember, but some of the business aspects are, underwater data farms, etc. So there's a lot of that can be offered from the fact that you're underwater. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with some of these other questions, so we'll just stop there.
And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but in a time when there's a new space race, why choose ocean colonization?
Personal preference. I mean, I think you said it. You said I have no desire to go to space. I'm fascinated by space. I always have been. I watch all the SpaceX launches. I watch the Blue Origin launches and stuff along those lines. It fascinates me. But I have no desire to go there. And I think a lot of people are the same way. There's it's going to happen with or without my approval of it. But we have 75% of the ocean here that's untapped. There's mysteries to explore here, and who knows what technological and medical breakthroughs will come from exploring and colonizing the ocean. Plus, they can go hand in hand with space because right now NASA uses, Aquarius as well as other ocean technologies to test and to plan for space missions. So who's to say that, Atlantis Sea Colony can't have some part in helping the space race as well?
And then the next one is, how will this be turned into like an affordable, sustainable business?
I mean, I think there's a lot of avenues for making money underwater. I honestly think that it could be a huge, huge business. That's the reason I'm in it. Sure, I mean, who doesn't want to make money? But that's not my driving force on it. So to answer, I think you got to look at what's going to make the most money. The recreational aspect will bring money, hotels and resorts and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be more for the media and the PR aspect of the thing. It'll bring the notoriety that we need. The big dollars will come from, other ventures, private ventures, whether it is cloud data storage, private housing, whatever stuff we can't even think of at this point in time. But I think there's a bunch of different avenues that we know of and that we don't even know of that can make this a very viable business structure. I don't want to dive too deep into that because I don't, there's some things that we're working on that I don't want to give away. but I think that gives a brief overview of the ideas of how this can make money.
And then the next two questions, I think we can just tie into the one question because I feel it's the same thing. Not the same thing, but so for one, what we're kind of seeing now, at least as while we're recording it, obviously when this comes out, things will be a little bit different. But as we're recording this, Hurricane Dorian or whatever it is they named it this time, that's occurring right now. So. And then let me just rephrase into one big question. How does being underwater, how do we adapt to those situations? Because one of the things you have to address is the atmospheric pressure. Obviously, that changes as you go deeper into the ocean. And then how does just Mother Nature affect these structures? Is there potential danger in being underwater when a lot of these storms happen?
Yeah. We'll answer the hurricane one first. So several years ago, there was a hurricane. I don't remember which one it was, but it went right over Aquarius, which is sitting around 60 feet, and it took some damage. So it was a huge hurricane, and at 60 feet, it still felt the effects of it. That didn't destroy it or anything like those lines. But the goal, obviously, is you have to be deep and you have to be secured pretty well to the bottom are the two big factors here. So let's get below 100 foot and make sure we're anchored well. And I think that you're going to be pretty safe at that point in time. So that's really the way to solve it, is deep and secure yourself. To the pressure thing, it's still not 100% proven as far as how that's going to transpire. But what we're working on, I don't want to say it that way because it sounds like we don't know what we're doing. But what we're going to do, which does work, is going to have I'm putting layman's term, like a lockout system. So the pressure of the habitat will be the same as what you are on the surface. So if you're scuba diving down to it, you'll enter into the habitat and then go through a lockout system, which will bring you back to the surface pressure. So you can stay down there and talk and eat and everything that you normally do. And then when you're ready to leave, you get back in there, you pressurize to the outside pressure, and you scuba dive back up. It's fine and dandy. That's the way we're addressing it. Obviously, once the mini sub docking system or where we end up implementing comes into play with the whole thing, that'll change because you won't need that lockout system anymore because it's the straight surface to surface pressure level. That's how we're addressing it. I think that most of the ones that are moving forward, all the habitats are looking at a similar situation to that because they understand that to make it accessible to the general public, you have to do something like that. Now, if it's a science staff, you can do it a little bit different. You can have them pressurize to those levels and stuff along those lines. But for the general public, you can't do that. So I think it's a pretty common idea.
Yeah, and we've seen that with, like you said, the technology's there. The science proves itself. There's been numerous ventures into extremely deep water that, with people in it, we know with the right systems in place that you can physically do it, but it's all about, like you said, finding the right system to do it and be able to have it work hand in hand with the habitat itself. And then a fun question that we got here is, so what are your favorite pieces of oceanic fiction?
Well, I think we've all read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and
I haven't actually. So
oh, well, maybe you should. But for me, it's movies and TVs. The Abyss is in my top 3 movies of all time. It's just a wonderful movie. It's gritty. It's the fear of the pressures of the ocean, the cold, all aspects, all the scary aspects of it, but also the wonder of what's down there too. And then for the TV shows, Sequest DSV back in the 90s was crucial in the formation of this vision and dream. When I really started working on this, it was around the time that it came out, and I think that a lot of that imagery played into early designs and really got my mind and creative juices flowing. So I think there's a lot of other stuff out there, but I would put it between The Abyss and Sequest DSV as the top two favorite fiction pieces out there.
I guess if it had to come to me, my favorite still is Sea Lab 2021, but that's more of a mature themed cartoon, so it's not family friendly. But
well, and we hopefully won't have that happening at our habitat either. So,
and the last question we got here is, how can people help with this project? How can they be involved and help with the Atlantis Sea Colony?
Sure. I mean, I say I mean a lot, but I do. Liking the page, following all the social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, obviously, and the website. Liking that stuff, following us there, sharing it, growing this community. Obviously, at some point in time, we may need to call on our followers for more. At this point in time, all we're looking for is to get the name out there, to grow the fan base, to grow the notoriety of who we are and what we're trying to do. At this point in time, I am humbled that we cleared 200 people. And when I started this, I was passionate about it, but so used to people laughing at my face about wanting to do this, and to have crossed the 200 threshold to me is amazing. So I just excited about where we're going to go next. Much to most people, but to me it is. So I'm floored by that. So just continuing growing this thing, and yeah, I mean, that's all I can ask at this point in time.
I'd add on to that too, that one of the jobs I've kind of taken on since I've come on helping you is that I've specifically looked for people that can give us the criticism and give us we just like any project, like you want to know the concerns of people, you want to know answer their questions. So for me, it's I want to hear from marine biologists, I want to hear from engineers, I want to hear from whatever people that have input, whether it's criticism or concerns or compliments. Like, we definitely want that feedback on everything we're doing, because we have this plan, and we don't have proof of concept, but we have the concept that is provable, I guess is the way that you could say it, is that we know that it can be done. But there's going to be that time frame in between from where we are now to where it's entering the ocean, and we definitely want we want to be able to address every single issue to make sure that this goes perfect. We want nothing but good things to come out of this. We don't, and that's going to take more than just you and I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah, totally. And I was going to close with something you're talking about anyway, so I'll bring it up. A lot of things I've got this vision, there's stuff I want to do, but I'm a guy with a plan. People out there are a whole lot smarter than me in some of these areas, so I covet the information that the people are giving us back, and that can feed into this, and they can help out with the project as well, because this is bigger than me. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than a bunch of us, for ocean colonies, habitat in the ocean, in the water, period. So I'm sure that when we post this, there will be comments, and there will be people giving their feedback, maybe even making corrections about things I've said, and I'm completely fine with that. It's those things to learn and continue to grow, so we can make this the best community possible, as well as the best habitat, and then the best ultimately. So I just want to thank people that are watching this. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, I second that. So in conclusion, guys, so like we already said, like the Facebook page, share the Facebook page, come to our other social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, go to the website, just stay updated with us, and just stay engaged with us. We love to hear from everybody. We love to see this community grow, and I liked being able to do this. So I'm sure you'd agree with me that we can do another one in the future if more questions and stuff comes up, and we definitely hope there is. But having said that, we want to thank you guys for submitting the questions you did submit, and we hope to hear more from you guys. So, Brendon, you want to say bye?
Thanks a lot. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon.